Every once in a while, when a genre has gained a foothold in culture and its tropes have become well-worn, a piece of fiction within that genre will come along to take an honest look at those tropes and view them in a new context. More often than not, I believe, this is exactly what media needs in order to remain fresh and keep surprising us. This is commonly referred to in criticism as deconstruction, a form of critical analysis created by French philosopher Jacques Derrida, this guy right here. I haven't read up on him too much, but I don't believe he originally intended this to be something that refers to actual films and television shows and books, etc. that critique its contemporaries. I believe it was just a term that was created for a school of thought when it came to critiquing literature, but the term has evolved. Deconstructing tropes is more easily recognized when it's comedic. For example, the television show Community was a thorough deconstruction of sitcom television and eventually entertainment in general. It achieved this through self-aware homage and its pop culture savvy characters directly stating what they're critiquing.
It makes every 10 minutes feel like the beginning of a new scene of a TV show. Of course, the illusion only lasts until someone says something they never say on TV, like how much their life is like TV. There, it's gone.
However, you can also create a deconstructionist story and play it straight, and in doing so, create something extremely engaging. On my own YouTube channel, I made the claim that the anime Hunter x Hunter was deconstructionist, and to my surprise, there was some backlash. People surprisingly hostile and exclaiming that it is not deconstructionist, declaring that it was quote-unquote just good shonen, as if being a great take on shonen and subverting the expectations of battle shonen are mutually exclusive things. But that said, I guess the burden of proof is on me. So, how exactly is it deconstructionist? Well, let's discuss it, and by discuss it, I mean let's have you listen to me talk about it for a few minutes. There will be spoilers, and you also won't enjoy this video unless you've actually watched Hunter x Hunter, so you may as well go do that. Gon Freaks is your typical innocent strong boy who's dumb, but is also the best ever. At least, he seems that way on the surface. Under the surface, he's got all the flaws one of those characters would actually need to have in order to be the typical hero in these kinds of stories. Gon is lovable, but he's also deeply broken underneath it all. Gon routinely puts himself and Killua in mortal danger due to his own selfish impulses, and has in multiple instances resorted to intense self-harm in order to achieve something. It's the trademark shonen hero brand of recklessness, except now it has consequences. Gon's recklessness gets Kite killed. Furthermore, when he did get Kite killed, Gon simply didn't believe that it had happened because, he didn't want to believe it. Killua interpreted this as pure positive thinking, but it becomes clear later that Gon is not an incorruptible ray of light. He most likely always knew that it was more than likely Kite was dead, but so long as he didn't see it for himself, he could pretend to believe otherwise. And when he was finally forced to accept it, he broke completely. The trademark shonen hero optimism that's unwavering is actually bad. In a more realistic universe, this isn't pure positive hope that always works out in the end, it's just denial, and it's unhealthy. And in the same arc, the closer Gon got to the moment he would have to accept Kite's death, the more clear it was that Gon may not have the same level of empathy for strangers most other people have. He literally threatened to murder a little girl in order to get what he wanted. The only reason he didn't leave her to die was because Killua stopped him from doing so. Without Killua, Gon would have let her die without hesitation. And even with Killua attempting to keep him in check, he said he was gonna kill her himself with his own hands. And there is no indication that that's not true. Can you see Naruto doing that? Luffy? Goku? No. Now Gon is lovable, but he's a dark interpretation of that archetype. The deconstruction of what kind of child could all at once be innocent, driven, and also a killer. Naruto and Goku, and others within this archetype, have all straight up killed people, usually without even a hint of remorse or PTSD or something, but their series never addresses the inherent darkness of that. Hunter x Hunter does, which is in and of itself a critique of his contemporaries. If you'd like to hear a more detailed look at Gon's psyche, I'd recommend checking out a video essay from a YouTuber called Alexander after you finish this video called The Morality of Gon Freaks. He goes into more detail as to the evidence for Gon being, kind of f***ed up under the surface. And honestly, that would be enough to call this series deconstructionist, but it doesn't end there. The main hallmark of battle shonen manga and anime is how violence is always the ultimate answer to any given problem. Might makes right. But out of the 7 completed arcs in Hunter x Hunter, how many have ultimately been resolved through violence? 2. 2 arcs out of 7. The first being Heaven's Arena, where the entire point is that Gon wants to get a good punch in on Hisoka, and he doesn't even win that fight. And the second being the Greed Island arc, which is resolved through a climactic battle. And that's the only arc in the entire series to be resolved so cut and dry. The other arcs have plenty of fun, great action, but those battles don't actually solve problems. In the Hunter exam, Gon gets his license without winning a single fight. In the Zoldyck family arc, the problem is solved just by Killua talking things out with his dad. In York New City, they find a non-violent solution and leave Kurapika unfulfilled in his plan to murder all the spiders. He just has to sort of abandon that goal. In the Chimera Ant arc, the king was ultimately poisoned by the bomb Netero used, but it's heavily implied that Komugi befriending him was what really saved the day. In the final arc of the anime, it looks like Killua will have to fight to defend his sister and use her to save Gon, but again, just talking things out with him ultimately gets Illumi to back off. If anything holds true in Hunter x Hunter, it's that it doesn't abide by the usual rules of plot construction in these kinds of stories. Arcs end suddenly and non-violently more than once. The villains are always humanized, no matter how despicable, but it also never ends with those humanized villains being redeemed or becoming best friends of the protagonist. They're still bad people who did irredeemably bad things, but they are people. That's not just good shonen. Battle shonen has specific tropes in order to fulfill a power fantasy. Hunter x Hunter has no interest in being a power fantasy. Yoshihiro Togashi already made his typical power fantasy battle shonen, one of the best ever made, Yu Yu Hakusho. And in comparing that series to this one, you can easily see the difference between Togashi simply making good shonen and him making something unique and experimental that subverts everything we know battle shonen to be. And in the manga, we recently got introduced to Togashi directly subverting his contemporaries, introducing his own tweaked version of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures stands. Except Togashi's versions act a little differently, and are more like horrific eldritch monsters than cool stylized ghost musclemen. I mean, look at this fucking thing. You gonna tell me this is typical shonen? Because this looks like some Junji Ito shit. I'm pretty sure that was the actual influence here. Ugh. Anyway, Hunter x Hunter is absolutely deconstructionist, revealing the flaws of the genre and intentionally breaking away from conventions while also reveling in what makes those stories so enjoyable. And everybody who says otherwise is a stupid poophead who's wrong and dumb and also a nerd who smells like farts. And just to head people off before they start going off on this, yes, I've seen Digibro's video. I enjoy his content, but his video specifically discussed people ignoring why Hunter x Hunter is great and just using deconstructionism as like a catch-all term. And that's not what I did here. So now there's really no reason to bring that up because, yeah, I know. So there.